Welcome to another episode of Commending and Contending, a podcast about how the gospel of Jesus encourages us to live our lives and use our words to commend and contend for Jesus and his gospel. I'm your host, Jonathan Holt. Joining me today is Rod Bayley. G'day, Rod.
G'day. Good to join you, Jonathan.
Tell us, Rod, where has God planted you?
Yeah, we've been down in Wollongong for the last almost 18 years. I'd served in a church in Sydney before that, largely grown up in Sydney, different parts thereof. And we moved down to Wollongong for me to serve at Wollongong Baptist originally as an associate pastor, but that only lasted for a little while when my senior guy headed for Melbourne shortly, about 12 months into my time there. And so for a long time now, I've been in the senior role and been blessed to see God sort of grow things slowly over time and add some staff so that I wasn't alone.
You keep saying we went. It sounds like God's put you in a bit of a family there. Who's in your family, Rod?
Yes. So Christine, I'm married to her. We got married in 96 and we have three children that are 21, 18 and 15. So, they're moving on with their lives, doing university and other things. But yes, I see it very much as a partnership with Christine as we've served in ministry. We both studied at Bible college together. Or she did a year while I was going through doing my BTH. And it's been great to serve together in that sense.
Tell me, Rod, how's God been encouraging you recently?
Yeah, we've had a lot of encouragement in different ways in our local church, but especially across the local churches in Wollongong. I'm part of a local ministers fellowship, as many people are in their region, and we've had great working relationship for a long time. Richard Chin was part of that as well, who heads up AFES for Australia, and he would often say, as somebody who travelled around Australia, that Wollongong had something unique in terms of the level of partnership and network. And I think that's borne fruit most evidently in terms of the SRE, especially in high school. So like lots of areas now, we have a board that looks after, some paid teachers that go into some of the local high schools. But that's been expanding over the whole time I've been here. I think we started off with two high schools that we were looking after, Smith Hill High, which is a selective high school, and then Wollongong High School. But then we added Kira High. Not so long ago, we added Fig Tree High, I think 3 years ago. And just this year, we've been able to expand into Warrawong High. Warrawong's a fairly hard knocks, tricky area in terms of just the socioeconomic realities, and the high school reflects that. So that's been a wonderful thing. And we've been able to add teachers, add funding to allow that to go forward. So most of those positions are 2 or 3 days a week, but some slightly larger, but it's been a great thing. And we're seeing fruit year on year with kids coming to faith, lots of Christians who are there but felt fairly isolated being encouraged and able to sort of invite friends to lunchtime groups or to SRE classes. And I think the whole opt-in system that's unfolded in the last couple of years has actually benefited a lot of schools. It certainly has in our area and has led to more people joining the scripture classes. So that's just been a great thing to observe that over time and see the fruit. And we have one of the teachers comes from our evening service, and so we get a lot more insight from her, obviously. And so she's serving at Smith Hill High School, and there's just great opportunities to be a witness there.
Sounds marvelously encouraging. So good to hear that combined work of the people of God to take the gospel to those who need to hear it. The Gospel Coalition Australia runs on your generous donations. It's what keeps our website free and full of top-notch resources. And if you don't donate yet, why don't you go and visit the Gospel Coalition Australia website, look for that green give button in the top right-hand corner and support the work of Australian voices speaking the gospel to Australians. Rod, in your role as senior minister, you could have just settled in and coasted along with a staff in a church running multiple congregations and looking after and being very comfortable. But I noticed that, in fact, you're not doing that. Someone else has taken on the senior minister role and you're off to do a church plant. Aren't you a little old for church planting?
Yeah, that was our worry actually. So, but no, look, it's been a great challenge to consider this over the last sort of 6 months or so. We've been chatting about an area about 20 minutes south of our church, which is huge growth corridor where there's going to be 50,000 people by about 2035 and another 10 years or so. And there's already probably about 10,000 or so, 12,000 maybe, that have gone into that area already. So that's exciting. There's great opportunities there. There's a need for churches to be planted. And since some of those developments started about 5 or 6 years ago, we've been thinking about that as a church community in Wollongong. And we had always thought that we would get somebody externally, somebody that's young, that's got the energy for all of this, and they can take it on. And so that sort of got disrupted by COVID. We were just sort of getting into a bit further planning in 2019. Then things changed, obviously, for all of us. And then the end of 2021, we got back into things. We thought, no, we really want to press forward with this. The suburbs are continuing to grow. But we interviewed 2 or 3 people, and we had contact with different ones, looking externally for someone to take it on. But then we got to May of last year, and after doing that for about 18 months seriously and not finding any joy, our eldership at our church said, maybe one of you guys should consider this internally, going down there and taking it on. And none of us were keen, actually, at the time when they raised that, and including myself. And it was probably only a couple of months later, well, probably August, before I started seriously thinking about it and then praying with my wife about it. I had been sort of driving the vision for it for a number of years, and it dawned on me that I was probably the most invested and the most passionate about seeing this happen at some level. And we had been at Wollongong then for 17 years, and we were thinking, well, maybe God has a new chapter in mind for us. And there were just doors opening as I was trying to pursue things and lay the groundwork for somebody that might come and do it. And I thought, oh, this really needs to happen. God is clearly showing that this can move forward. I think I need to pray about this. So it was quite a journey of sort of praying through August, September. We got to the October long weekend, and it sort of reached the point as a couple where, no, we think we should consider taking this on and put our name forward to the church to do this. But yes, we had the hesitation. One, my age, I'm 53. I'm thinking, I could easily just stay put, and maybe I'm better to stay in an established church, and if some young guy can do it. Or also whether I have the skill set. I've just always worked in established churches, and it's a different kettle of fish, obviously, to look at a church plant. So both those things had us a little concerned, and we thought we need to get assessed. And so, little plug, we did that through Reach Australia, and that was a helpful process. That went through sort of about 6 weeks, and we got to the end of that, and they said, no, we think you can take this on. We brought all those sort of plans and ideas to our church at the start of December, the end of last year, and they approved all that. So we're on this journey now of 6 or 8 months of transitioning, handing over things in Wollongong, and exiting towards a church plant. So I've sort of got my head in 2 spaces at the moment, but it's been exciting.
Sounds really interesting the way that God's led you and kind of positioned you to have that passion and the willingness to serve him by going out and doing something new. In terms of contending for the gospel of Jesus through church planting, what sort of things have you learned as you've come new to this kind of church planting role? Have you done training? Are there particular insights or books you've read? What's really kind of lit up for you in terms of how you go about pursuing a church plant?
Yeah, well, I've read some books and they've been helpful. Been talking to lots of people who are church planning or have done that in the last few years, trying to get some of their insights and knowledge from that. I did recently with my wife go to a church planting boot camp, a conference for 4 days, and that was really helpful. Challenged us to think through some issues, not only around our motivation and our planning and our strategy, but just how things might unfold in the next few years, thinking strategically about the whole region, where we might meet and all kinds of little details as well. But we had been thinking into some of that for a while, but some of the big picture and just listening to others who were also planning to plant in the next 12 months was just really inspiring and challenging at the same time. So that's been really helpful. I feel like that's given us some equipping. We're by no means experts, but yeah, we feel encouraged and assured enough that we can step out in faith and just see how things unfold under God. I think really there's a sense in which as we take this on, this could be the last, I guess, major thing I do, given my age. I'm thinking I've got 12 or 15 years maybe, and then I'm going to retire. So I really want to establish a church that's reaching out, but not only looking to reach the region we're going in, but wanting to be a multiplying church that might plant another church again. Just being aware of this corridor that I mentioned, there's room for probably 2 or 3 more church plants along it. So we're going to be down the southern end of this sort of stretch of growth. But so I'm hoping to build in, I guess, a DNA from the start that's looking beyond ourselves. It's one thing to establish a new thing, but to have disciples who are making disciples is the key. And so we're really trying to think about how we can lay the groundwork from that for day one.
Also, part of the work of the Gospel Coalition Australia is to have local networks of like-minded people, passionate, serving shoulder to shoulder in the work of the Lord. And I know there's an Illawarra network, then you're part of that. What sort of things go on at the local TGCA network in Illawarra?
Yeah, we've been doing a few things each year. We only started back in 2017, and it was kind of born out of an existing group of churches that were working together doing evangelistic events, often held at the university's sort of neutral territory that we could invite uni students to in particular. But we've tried some different things over those last 7 years or so, but it's kind of solidified into sort of 3 major conferences each year. So we have the TGCA Wollongong Women's Conference, which has been held in August every year. It will be its 14th year. I think they've tried to hold it this year. They've only had 12 because of COVID. But that is shifting this year from August to May. So they'll be meeting on May 25 this year, and that's held at the university usually. But I think they're changing venue this year. But that's been gathering over the last couple of years 400 to 500 women from across the Illawarra, which has been really encouraging. And we've had some great speakers from Sydney and interstate and so forth. Along with that, we have each year a Challenge Day conference, which is really driven by AFES at Wollongong University, but it's come under the TGC banner and we support it as local churches. And so that's usually held at the uni, and yeah, we'll get 50, 60, sometimes a few more, often largely students, but we've tried to pitch it as well to retirees or anyone who might consider, further ministry, what that would look like, whether it's a full-time apprenticeship or, considering going to Bible college after that, whatever it might be, taking the next step to vocational ministry. So that's been really encouraging year on year. And we've got a third thing, which is a regional ministry conference, which is just those serving in ministry across the Illawarra, existing churches largely, although it's broader than that, it involves university ministry as well. But that's been just hosted in one of the local churches in Wollongong, and we often have about 50 people or so from across the Illawarra. And this year, for example, we've got Paul Grimman coming to speak from Moore College. And so he's going to speak on the theme of serving Jesus for the long haul, thinking about resilience in ministry. So just to spur people on, our aim is really to help people keep going well, but also to be confident in the Bible and outward looking, evangelistically driven in their churches.
Sounds like a really wonderful way to connect people in that area. And sounds like there's all sorts of great things that people get out of it, both the content, but also just the way that spending time together builds those relationships and actually helps people go the distance and stay outward looking and evangelistic in the midst of the pressures of long-term work in a place.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a real encouragement the last few years, and we've got to know more people, I guess, that are serving faithfully across the region. And yeah, we're just encouraged to see them continue on strongly and to see the gospel go forward in our region. There's lots of people that need to hear the gospel. There's 300,000 people in the Illawarra, and like the rest of Australia, you know, there's 5-10% in church at best. So a lot of people to reach with the good news.
Thanks for having a chat with me today, Rod.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great to be with you.